Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Good evening, America. My name is Katie Britt, and I have the honor of serving the great people of Alabama. But tonight, I'll be auditioning for the part of Scary Mom. And I'll be performing an original monologue called This Country is Hell. You see, I'm not just a senator. I'm a wife, a mother, and the craziest bitch in the Target parking lot. I'm worried about the future of our children, and this is why I've invited you into this strange, empty kitchen. Because Republicans wanted me to appeal to women voters, and women love kitchen. But seriously, my husband Wesley and I just watched President Biden's speech, and what I saw was the performance of a permanent politician. But me, I'm not performing. I'm not. But first and foremost, I'm a mom. And like any mom, I'm going to do a pivot out of nowhere into a shockingly violent story about sex trafficking. And rest assured, every detail about it is real, except the year, where it took place, and who was president when it happened. And tonight, I am not just responding to the State of the Union. I am also selling these gorgeous bejeweled cross necklaces for you. This Affinity diamond necklace goes with anything, and you can wear it from the church to the club. And now I'm gonna get weirdly seductive for no apparent reason. As I was saying, the American dream has turned into a nightmare. You know, my husband Wesley and I spend a lot of time in this kitchen worrying. Kitchens are where families have the hard conversations, like the one we'll have tomorrow about how mommy freaked out the entire country. But y'all, Biden's the one who is destroying our country. Just ask yourself, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? Back in the good old days of 2020, the year that nothing bad happened? And it can be that way again. Oh my God, I guess I can sing. That's so great. But our country is not. It's like I tell my kids every night, we are steeped in the blood of patriots in a castle made of bones. Good night, kids. And speaking of tea, my tea is ready. But to the American people who are struggling right now, know this. We hear you. We see you. We smell you. We're inside your kitchen right now, looking through your fridge. And what's that on the top shelf? Migrants. I think that analogy went well. In conclusion, to the President of the United States, I'll just say this. Mr. Biden, this isn't the last you'll see of Katie Britt. Maybe not in politics, but when you close your eyes, I'll be right there.
Hello everybody, welcome back. So, hope everybody's having a good weekend and all that. Been kind of weathery here. It's been a lot of rain and sleet and a bit of snow. It's winter's way of trying to continue its dominance here in our weather here. You know, but it's going away. We're going into spring here soon, and that'll be nice. Especially when we get more daylight time to ourselves, so we can feel like, you know, we don't have to hurry back home when we're out shopping. Anyway, it's an interesting little article here that I picked up. It's this story that's been running here for about a week and a half now, but there's been further development on it. And first, let me just because I don't think I've mentioned this before, but the Trump campaign was using music from Sinead O'Connor, I guess without permission, which is surprising, because isn't it usually the other way around, where people are always using, you know, musicians' stuff, you know, regular people, not rich people, but the regular people, you know, using other people's music without asking for permission. I mean, a rich person would be able to pay, right, for the permission or whatever they need to do to make it right, to be able to run someone else's music. And let me see here. This is from the March the 4th here, and it says Sinead O'Connor's estate demands biblical devil, that's what they call Donald Trump, to stop using her music at rallies. The estate's demanding that President Trump, former President Trump, excuse me, stops playing the late singer's music during his political rallies. Quote, throughout her life, it is well known that Sinead O'Connor lived by a fierce moral code defined by honesty, kindness, fairness, and decency towards her fellow human beings. Unquote. The late singer's estate and Chrysalis Records said in a joint statement to the Associated Press, quote, it was with outrage, therefore, that we learned that Donald Trump has been using her iconic performance of Nothing Compares to You at his political rallies. Quote, it is no exaggeration to say that Sinead would have been disgusted, hurt, and insulted to have her work misrepresented in this way by someone whom she herself referred to as a biblical devil, unquote. Excuse me. The statement continued, quote, as the guardians of her legacy, we demand that Donald Trump and his associates desist from using her music immediately, unquote. So, that was March the 4th when that story came out. This is from 3 days ago. Donald Trump's use of Sinead O'Connor's song Nothing Compares to You wasn't just wrong, it felt violent. If we know one thing about Trump, it is his predilection for seeing something he wants and attempting to grab it. I picture the 45th president, and possibly the 47th, to a pink-fisted toddler sticky with rage, forever reaching out towards pussy, elections, classified files, foundation funds, Theresa May's hand, the fundamental concept of truth. For much of his life, the approach was served him well. But of late, the path between Donald and his desires has been obstructed by a bothersome array of legal cases and an FBI investigation. Then this week, the presidential candidate encountered his latest hindrance, the Irish singer Sinead O'Connor. Last month, Trump held a campaign rally in Maryland. It was much as one might imagine such an event, a ballroom at a waterfront resort, the type of crowd familiar to a conservative political action conference, and a dazzling selection of MAGA merchandise, right? The only aberration came in the choice of piped pre-speech music. They're somewhere between Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire and Elvis Presley's Suspicious Minds. The tannoy played O'Connor's 1990 hit Nothing Compares to You. O'Connor died last summer, but both her estate and her record label, Chrysalis, were quick to condemn the use of the song. O'Connor, they said in a joint statement, would have been disgusted, hurt, and insulted to be included on a Trump playlist. She had lived, they said, by a fierce moral code defined by honesty, kindness, fairness, decency toward her fellow human beings. and she described Trump as a biblical devil. O'Connor is not alone in the distance she wanted to keep from Trump. Other artists, including Neil Young, Bruce Springsteen, Rihanna, Tom Petty, Phil Collins, and the Village People, have all demanded the former president desist from using their music. Balking at the proposed use of Hallelujah at the Republican National Convention, Leonard Cohen's estate said they would only realistically have considered the use of the singer's 2016 track, You Want It Darker. Whether or not these tracks have been personal choices is unclear, but Trump purports to be a music fan. In his infamous memoir, Business Handbook, The Art of the Deal, he recalled how he was almost expelled from school for punching his music teacher in the face on the grounds that he believed the teacher, quote, didn't know anything about music, unquote. The teacher in question denied the episode ever took place. Elsewhere, he has cited his favorite song as Peggy Lee's, quote, Is That All There Is, unquote, and numbers Elton John, Eminem, and the Rolling Stones among his favorite artists. The feeling is not so mutual. In 2016, the Stones sent a cease and desist letter to curtail the use of You Can't Always Get What You Want on the campaign trail. Still, the use of an O'Connor track feels particularly galling. In part, it is the proximity of the singer's passing just 7 short months ago, and that at the age of just 56. Her loss seems untimely and raw. It is, too, that so much of O'Connor's life and career had been marked by brutality at the hands of her abusive mother and the Catholic Church and the music industry, that she had spoken of the grief of it and campaigned against her wider injustices, from racial discrimination in America to the treatment of the Palestinian people, none of which chime with the individualistic Trumpian worldview. To use Nothing Compares to You specifically feels somehow violent. Few pop songs in existence possess such vulnerability, such absence of guile. A plaintive tale of newly lost love. It is striking in its spareness, despite layers of instrumentation, synthesizers, strings, and saxophone. The singer's voice appears to stand unadorned and untempered, and rarely has a music video met the current of its song so well. O'Connor's pale skin and shaven head, her simple black polo neck, the tears, she later said, came unexpectedly as she sang. Together they are the antithesis of Trump, beffaunted and orange-hued, full of fanfare and embellishment. Nothing Compares to You appeared on O'Connor's second album, the richly praised I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got. Its title referred to a dream the singer had about her mother, but it also captured something of her own essence, an artist who turned down awards and accolades, and for whom celebrity could not be weighed over creative satisfaction. It seems perfectly obvious that O'Connor would not have wanted her song used in the context of a CPAC conference and a Trump rally, and yet they took it anyway, without asking, and for their own amusement always wanted what they have not got. I just started kissing them, is how Trump once described his seduction technique to a colleague in a now legendary covert recording. Quote, I don't even wait, and when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything, unquote. Okay. So do you think Donald Trump really gave a shit much about what the estate of Sinead O'Connor had to say about that? I don't know. I don't think they said anything about any response from him, but I'm sure if there was a response from him, it was probably off color and off the cuff. You know, this from a guy they say likes music, okay, and has his, well, if he likes music so much, then why did he go and do that? I mean, he must know better than that, right? I mean, he's not, I mean, yeah, he's oblivious to morals and things like that, but he must obviously understand, you know, you got to get somebody's permission to use their music on something like that, at a rally, or even online here. If you want to use parts of somebody's song, you still got to get permission, you know, and then, you know, you usually got to pay a fee, you know. But his campaign, not just Trump, but everybody in his campaign went out and did this. They all went ahead and started using her music didn't one of them say, look, Trump, did we get permission to use this song? You know, maybe not. Maybe nobody, maybe people are so scared of this fat fuck that, you know, they're afraid to ask him any kind of question that might offer just a little bit of fucking friction against what he wants, you know? I mean, is he that scary? If he is that scary, then where's the bodies? Okay? If this man is so terrifying to the justices on the Supreme Court, to members of the Congress and the Senate, to people in his campaign, then where are the dead bodies, I ask you? Because nothing short of that could make me be afraid of that frickin' orange fool here, okay? You know what I'm saying? The guy is an idiot, okay? And if he's linked up to any murders, okay, then they got to be out there. Otherwise, why are they afraid of him? Okay? Unless he's hanging around with all the people that he's got goods on, you know what I'm saying? That all the most rotten people that you can find on this earth are in his cabal because, hey, he's got all their swords of Damocles hanging over all their heads, and maybe that's how he scares them. I don't know. That makes you wonder, what has he got on the justices in the Supreme Court? What does he got on the members of Congress that are so loyal to him? You know, people, you got to follow. You got to use your line of thinking and follow where the breadcrumbs lead. You know, they say follow the money. Well, I'm sure there's money involved in there somewhere, okay? And that might open up some coffins, you know, that are linked to him. That just might. And that might lead to other coffins and more, you know, and them coffins leading to other coffins. The point is that a person cannot gain a reputation like that unless he is standing on a pile of dead bodies, okay? And if that's the case, then we're looking to convict him on all the wrong things. This guy's probably responsible for more than just all the, you know, the million people that he got killed in during the pandemic. He's probably got other people, dozens more, buried in places like out in Nevada and you know, near the desert in Las Vegas. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's probably got bodies everywhere. I mean, when people call him the Teflon Don, they probably ain't too far from the truth. You know, you know, there's a reason why people give him these nicknames, and that's because they've had firsthand experience in dealing with him and realize how futile it is to try to get him to answer for any crimes that he's done. You know, and when somebody like that can get away with some of the most extreme kind of crimes like murder and stuff like that, and nobody wants to say anything, they'll even go to prison for this guy, then that tells you a lot. Excuse me here, I gotta lay down there. So it really tells you a lot about the guy. And I'm afraid that, you know, there could be truths about Trump that we may never know about, because he's at that age where he could outlive any justice that might come his way. You know, let's face it, his mind is kind of coming apart. I mean, the amounts of incidents where this guy is caught slurring his speech and you know, losing track of his train of thought at rallies is getting more frequent now. I think a lot of people have noticed that. That, you know, the age argument really is working against him, because he's really showing his age, as it were, at these events, because he can't seem to put together or string together a whole coherent speech. So I feel like, you know, hey, you know, if his mind is already going now, then in 5 years, where are we going to be with this guy? You know, and if he wins to be president, right, and his mind is going right now, will he be able to function, you know, through that whole term? Biden's mind, you know, he might be a little bit slow, but he's still on top of it. You saw in the State of the Union speech, you know, he was railing to go. I mean, he was energetic and on topic. You know, he gave a good speech. A lot of people are saying it was one of the best State of the Union speeches they've heard coming out of there for a long time. I think it's just because he confronted the Republicans head on in that speech, and, you know, put a big mirror up to there and say, hey, see, you know, many other, you know, people, other presidents wouldn't have gone that far, but he did. Because I think, you know, he's getting sick and tired of all this mudslinging that they're throwing at him and his son. I mean, he's got He's got a lot of reasons to hate them right now, okay? And I don't think anybody could expect President Biden not to take advantage of the opportunity to confront these silly idiots at the State of the Union speech. Okay, I certainly would have. You know, I'd have come up there with all kinds of gadgets. You know, you know, I'd say, Marjorie, get up here, Marjorie, come to the stage, sit here in this, and I'd have put a dunce hat on her head. You know, you know, with your big mouth. I'd have embarrassed the shit out of her in front of everybody there. That they'd have been so mad about that, they never would have shut up about it. But you see, that's what you got to do with people like that. You know, you got to hit them, you know, where they feel shamed, and they don't like to feel shame. Okay, why they lie so much, I don't know. Because if there's any way to open yourself up to shame, it's by lying all the time and getting caught doing it. I mean, but unless they actually feel like guilty for lying, then I guess the shame isn't going to be there, right? So to them, lying is an okay thing. So at any rate, like I said, it's getting to the point now where you know, Republicans are really getting they're lost in their own hysteria. You know, I think they are. I think they really are losing themselves into their own hype. They've been at this for so long now, and at the same time, their illustrious leader there has been screwing up here for all this time. They haven't been keeping pace with that, and they haven't changed their rhetoric to try to cover his butt on his mistakes. So his mistakes continue to compound, and these people aren't watching facts; they're watching lies on television, Fox News. Okay, and so they will take the lie over the truth. Okay, you know, it's like what's going on is people will hear the lie first, right? And so they set their minds on believing the lie. But when somebody says, no, that's not what happened, this is what happened, and they tell them the truth, like, oh, no, you're making that up. Okay, so if they heard the truth first, they probably would have believed that, and then the lie came later, and then they know. But you see, what it is they're going to the wrong place to get the information that they should be hearing. Okay, so they get the lie first, thinking that that's the truth, and then anybody else that contradicts that in their mind is telling a lie. You see, they got their head spun around. That's what you call spinning their head around. That's what they've done. That's what Trump's done to them. Okay, and I have to give the Democrats credit right now. I noticed on YouTube a lot more people have been going out confronting maggots. You know, confronting them, asking them questions like, well, did you know Trump said this? And not only do they tell them what Trump said, they show them the actual video on using the cell phone, because they go right to the link, play the video for the guy or the girl, whoever they're talking to, showing them that Trump did say that, and then asking them, well, now do you still feel the same way? And you see the look on their face, completely white and dumbfounded, and they don't know what to say, because see, they got their information first from Fox News, and in their mind that's the truth, because they got it from there first. They didn't bother to go online to figure out if it is the truth. They're just accepting, and it's like, hey, they've already been sued for what, $1 billion by a company for lying, about their voting machines, and you guys still say they're telling you the truth, It's like, a friend of mine said, they got no reasoning skills. They can't think for themselves. Critical thinking is gone in a lot of people. But I'm thinking, well, yeah, a lot of these people are, are older generation and stuff, people who should be the other way around, right? They should be smarter than that. I think they should be, but I guess it doesn't matter what generation you're in. There's going to be a percentage of your population that simply will miss the boat. Okay, miss the boat meaning miss the class on critical thinking. Okay, so you're always going to have a portion of your society that's going to be unable to know, or don't have a filter, a bullshit filter essentially, to know when they're being told crap. How does the rest of us fix that? I don't know if we can. I don't know. I mean, when people are adults, and you try to teach them something new, they get really offensive. I know I learned this the hard way, because see, my grandfather didn't know how to read. He grew up in a time where, going all the way through school wasn't really the big thing is getting a job and start making money. So he went as far as the 6th grade, I think, and he dropped out. But his reading skills were poor, and so he couldn't read everything. I mean, he could read small sentences or something a little bit, but he couldn't read. So my grandmother, who got a better education, could read. So she would read him the newspaper in the morning, but her problem was reading comprehension. She couldn't really understand the nuances of what she was reading, where my grandfather could. And so she would read the newspaper to him, and then he would interpret back to what she just read to her, and they would, you know what I'm saying? So they lived their life that way, as bizarre as it might seem. But you know, one complemented the other in certain ways. Funny thing is, though, is that even though my grandfather didn't know how to read, he did understand things a lot better than most that did know how to read. When I tried to help him to learn how to read, he got really kind of upset with that. My mother told me to stop, okay, because he didn't want to feel like a dummy. But I thought, you know, hey, you know, this, you know, like to read the newspaper, look at the newspaper, you know, here, I can help you read it. You know, I was willing to do like what John Boy had done for a friend of him, to try to teach her. Remember, I can't remember what her name was. It was a black adult in Walton's. She didn't know how to read, and he wanted to help her to read because he was a friend of hers. He liked her, and so he wanted to teach her how to read. But she was afraid people would catch on that she didn't know how, and she felt embarrassed by that, as I'm sure some people would. But he didn't want to make her feel embarrassed. But he just, you know, he wanted her to know how to read. You know, he felt it was a gift that money couldn't buy. You know. So yeah. Anyway, I was trying to kind of do the same thing. But my grandfather, like I said, just, you know, just don't, you know. So I was like, okay. And you got a generation like that you know, you could expect. But that, I mean, these days, I mean, there really isn't much excuse now for people not understanding or knowing how to read. I mean, Jesus, most people today finish school. I mean, there was a time where people would drop out, but at certain levels where even they'd still know how to read. You know, like by the time they get into high school. I mean, you can't get into high school if you don't know how to read. So these days, you know, people should be able to understand things, you know, a lot better. But like I said, there's always going to be a certain population or a certain percentage of your population that's going to be behind the times and not understand. So I don't know. But like I said, this thing about Sinead O'Connor's estate, you know, going after Trump, I mean, yeah. You know, in this day and age where people get pissed off about music companies hoarding the rights on their music and stuff, I say, well, look, this is a big, obvious, glaring, neon light no-no, okay? Trump should have known that, okay? He walked his campaign right into that. And the campaign workers walked right into that. All together, they did. And they had to have known they were doing wrong, but did they care? No. Because Trump didn't care. If he didn't care, they didn't have to care. And it's funny, because, see, that's probably the way Giuliani probably felt that way too, but now look at him. You know, if Trump doesn't care, then he shouldn't care. Well, now he realized he should have cared, because you're not exonerated from your part in anything. You know, if he's in trouble, you're in trouble. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse, as they say in this country. So you better get educated on the law. So you can't use that as an excuse. You can't go to court and say, I didn't know that was a law. They're going to laugh at you. It don't matter. You're smart enough to read the laws. We don't take that into account. In other words, the law is the law. Whether you know about it or not, it's there. You break it, you break it. So I just thought that was funny. And to point out the video at the beginning there, with Scarlett Johansson. That was funny. I had to kind of squeeze that in there because it really was pretty funny. She really nailed Brit pretty good in that. And you know, it's funny. There's all kinds of people right now picking the shit out of Katie Britt there in her rebuttal to the State of the Union speech. So I guess, you know, the majority opinion was she was the wrong choice for the Republican Party to make a rebuttal speech, and that's pretty obvious. I mean, come on, you couldn't have been any more obvious than Katie Britt, because she really, you know, really, it seems surreal, you know, almost like watching the World Trade Centers come down, the buildings coming down. It was like watching that. It's like, is this for real, or is this some kind of a skit? Because that's what it came off like. But Scarlett Johansson made it show with this is the skit. What she did wasn't the skit, but what I'm doing is the skit. So I think that was pretty funny. I already do stuff like that, you know what I mean? Okay, so take care, everybody. I'll talk to you later.